We are human beings. Reason does not come naturally to us. It is only because of our proximity to intelligence that we are capable of reason at all. We are in bodies that are more accustomed to response on an emotional level. And because we are accustomed to response on an emotional level, we imagine things emotionally with our intelligence. Our intelligence becomes a slave of what we wish to imagine a danger is. An imagination as the result of fear. We often get stuck in delusions of how we think a situation is, or how we think people are, or what is really happening, or perhaps even having a conversation with somebody and thinking that you're having a completely different conversation when we view it in this or that light. A conversation between two people, even if it's over something that the other person does not think is any kind of insult or any kind of negativity that they're speaking about, can be interpreted as such by the other person when they view it in a certain light. We have to learn to look at situations, people, interactions, and the world in different lights. We can think of it as putting on different hats. It's hard to take off the hat of emotion because our bodies, our animal nature, we are accustomed to looking for something that could be a danger. This can be also a danger socially, societally, or intimately. We are accustomed to looking for danger, but because we are intelligent, we imagine dangers that are not there, the result of the fear that our emotion causes. If we can figure out how to take off the emotional hat and put on the hat of reason, of looking for solutions, understanding things in a way where our emotions are not caught up in it, we'll find that we glide through life far more easily than if we're just constantly responding with emotion. Because of the experiences that we go through, the trauma and the emotions that we experienced because of things that have happened in our lives in the past, we tend to expect similar things to happen in the future. And we worry about those similar things happening. We worry about our ability to endure, our ability to take it, our ability to take another blow, like the blows that we've taken in the past. And this fills our landscape, the way that we envision the future, everything that we envision it as being, becomes filled with ghosts, monsters. But all of these imaginings of how bad we think something can be again, or having another relationship that fails, or getting another job and being in a work environment that is not conducive to our happiness. We have all of these things that we imagine because of what we have experienced in the past. But when we're fighting all of these fears that we imagine and what could happen, it's almost like we're fighting ghosts. And that's what I usually call it. When I imagine bad things happening in the future based on what I've experienced in the past, or perhaps new bad things that I haven't experienced yet, that I could maybe worry about, even though I've never even experienced them, I bring my reason back and I remind myself that I'm just fighting ghosts, that these phantoms don't actually exist. They don't exist right now, and how I'm perceiving my past probably is incorrect as well. If I'm imagining my future to be so terrible, then I'm probably not seeing the past in the correct light. And because of not seeing the past in the correct light and imagining bad things that could happen in the future, it's very difficult for us to experience the present, to really have contact with our current reality and what we are experiencing in that reality. All of our senses and what we smell, what we hear, becomes what we expect to smell, what we expect to hear, what we expect to see, rather than what is actually there. So us in reality are many layers away from meeting. And so people have entirely different experiences of reality, separate from one another, because of these mental constructs, because most people are fighting ghosts that don't exist and that we summon ourselves when our intelligence turns against us, when we don't think with our reason, when we don't think with our higher intelligence, but intelligence becomes a slave to animal instinct and the fear nature that lies therein. We have to learn to become fully human, to become the best version of ourselves, and in order to do that, we have to be able to put down emotion when it is painful, when it is not serving us, and allow reason to take over. And it shouldn't make us cold or not compassionate to ourselves or others, or this world, or other beings in this world. It shouldn't make us cold and non-compassionate. We have to learn to use our reason to become better, rather than just becoming somebody who can get by, which is often what people do as well. Don't fight ghosts. You don't need to summon them. And if you're seeing the past in a certain light that makes you expect terrible things in the future, you're probably not seeing it in the correct light, in the best light that you can, in order for you to actually plan for the future, rather than planning by fighting ghosts. We must learn to do this. We must learn to take control of ourselves, take control of our identity, and not fall to our animal nature. Emotion isn't bad. Fear isn't bad in and of itself. Without emotion, we couldn't experience the good emotions as well. But too often do our emotions run rampant and we don't control them. We don't discipline ourselves. And this life becomes a terrible experience of horrors. And we even kind of learn to enjoy the horrors of our delusions and enjoy preparing based on fear. And, a lot of people, they won't readily admit that they enjoy the negative emotions or they enjoy delusions. But it becomes its own form of entertainment that we all kind of participate in, whether we realize it or not. And, if you don't think that human beings can enjoy horror, then why do we watch horror films? Why do we watch fights? Why do we watch movies that are sad? And yet somehow we enjoy all these things. And we kind of like to imagine horrors that can exist for us in our actual lives. And in a way, we get a weird enjoyment out of those delusions. And that enjoyment is counterproductive to us achieving the best version of ourselves and living a life that is in touch with reality, rather than many layers away from reality, because we're always stuck in the past or stuck imagining the future. Meeting reality, being mindful of the moment. It's not easy, but it is possible. You must learn to control these ghosts and these phantoms that we naturally summon because of our emotions, and choose when to put them down. Choose when not to imagine those things, but to experience reality in this moment and as it is, so that we can experience life, rather than being the tool of our lesser instincts and our emotions. They are meant to be a tool for us, not the other way around. It's difficult to explain how to do this, and I don't always succeed in doing it myself or accomplishing this myself. I often fail. I often don't discipline myself, and I often do not pick up reason when I should, and logic when I should, and in the way that I should. But when I realize that I'm fighting ghosts, fighting monsters, I think of it in that context, and I say, I'm not going to fight these ghosts and monsters right now. Sometimes I'll be imagining something, and then I'll ask myself, I'll be like, are you fighting ghosts again? And it's kind of like an internal joke for me, because once I realize that I'm just fighting ghosts that I'm summoning, then it's almoot like I'm snapped back to reality. And I understand that I'm not being present. I'm not being in this moment. And I'm not attending the reality that is happening around me. or even really within myself. Because imagining all these things, these delusions we get caught in, I perhaps have had to have a better understanding of delusions because of schizophrenia and how to fight them, because they can be very overwhelming. Schizophrenics are usually very emotional by nature. We tend to have very extreme emotions. We tend to conjure up delusions on a regular basis. And the only way that I've reached a level of mental stability is learning how to fight delusions and fight extreme emotions, how to breathe, how to be present, and how not to torture myself. And we really do torture ourselves. We suffer far more in imagination than in reality, as Seneca said. Stoic philosophy in general is great for learning to be present and not being conquered by the mind, but rather conquering the mind. Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius even. Great Stoic philosophers, and ones that I highly recommend. But I've had to develop certain tactics, these tactics, because if I didn't, then I would have been destroyed by myself, by my own imaginings, by my own summonings, by these ghosts that I summon. And if I seem stable at all, it's only because I've learned how to fight these. And you can too. You may not have as extreme emotions. Maybe you have more extreme emotions. You may not have as deep and out of touch delusions, or perhaps you're more delusional. But whatever it is, you can learn to fight these things. You can learn to experience reality, and you can learn to become the best version of yourself. You can think of yourself as a honed instrument or a sharpened knife. It takes many dips into the forge and a lot of pounding and a lot of heat of situations for a sharp blade to be formed that can be used to cut through almost anything that we find in life. All the terrors that might greet us, real ones, we can learn to use ourselves as that knife, as a tool, to cut through anything that stands in our way and move forward bravely. But it requires bravery as well. It requires self-understanding, but constant bravery, constant willingness to hone oneself. At any rate, this has been a bit of a rant about self-control and fighting ghosts and delusions. If this was interesting at all, like this video, really helps out the channel. Feel free to share this wherever you like. And I love hearing from you guys, so feel free to leave a comment. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and I hope all of you have a wonderful day.